Hello, welcome to the Lone Show. I'm your host, John Malone. In this episode, don't have regulars because reasons, sadly. As for our guest, he's from Florida, currently in Vero Beach, maybe in the same state, and he is an agricultural inspector. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Justin McSweeney.
Hi, Peter. Hello, audience.
Nice. So, how's life?
Oh, how is life? Yeah, life is good. From my narrow perspective, just me, it's good.
All right then, very good. Have you been up to much recently?
Uh, that, unfortunately, I haven't had anything really spectacular happen recently. Just more the mundane patterns of going to work and doing the odd stuff that I do when I'm not working.
Ah, okay. So, what is it you mainly do for a living?
Okay, well, you mentioned I'm an agricultural inspector, and this is a recent uh, change for me. I had owned a business prior to that, and I happen to be a plant geek, so I answered an ad for somebody to go and do agricultural inspecting. And so it's a program within the Department of Agriculture in the state of Florida that goes out into citrus groves and looks for diseases and the vectors of those diseases. So that really scratches the plant geek itch in me. And as a bonus, when I'm out in those properties in the groves, there are ancillary systems of what they would call hammocks or marsh communities or prairies or things like that. So I get to go wander around and have ADD moments out in those fields. So that's fulfilling, at least to me. Probably not to anybody else, but at least to me.
Okay, that's nice. How long you been doing that for?
I just 5 months. I started in May. So
All right then. And what have you done before that?
prior to that, in terms of business or occupation, I had a landscape business, and I worked with doing landscape maintenance and a little bit of design and install. And it was my business, so I kind of not necessarily my own boss because I had about 40 to 45 customers, and they were my boss. But I could fire myself from somebody if I didn't get along with them or things weren't going well or working out. So yeah, it was kind of nice. But again, that speaks to my interest in plants, botany, horticulture, things like that. I was able to scratch that itch through there.
Nice, nice. What inspired you to be so fascinated with plants and such?
Is this an adult show or is this for? Do we have children on board?
There's a much older audience mainly
Okay.
listening.
All right. When I was a teenager, I used to grow a lot of dope. So yeah, my love for plants started in a sort of not nefarious. I wouldn't consider it nefarious, but the laws of the land at the time frowned upon these kind of things. But yeah, when I was a kid, I used to grow grass, and so in doing that, it taught me how to be a good grower, or be a good gardener, or whatever you want to call it. So it was born of that. That didn't last very long, and then I fell into when I moved to Florida in the early 90s, in my early 20s, I developed an attachment to or an affection for palm growing, palm culture, and tropical plants, rare fruit, Florida natives, things like that. So I started to get curious about what was growing and what was around. And so I just basically transferred my interest in the illicit manufacture of certain herbaceous plants to going into these other things. So I went above board and legitimized my passion, I guess.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess.
It doesn't have to make sense. Yeah. If you're a plant person, or if you have a weird OCD obsession with anything, I guess maybe it resonates, but it doesn't have to. It's all good.
All right, fair enough. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Uh, well, again, this probably speaks to the plant nerd in me. I would live in a mountain climate, somewhere where the temperature doesn't vary by much. So, being the American that I am, I will use Fahrenheit. So, anywhere from about 80 degrees to down to no less than 60, 65 degrees would be ideal, both for me and for my interests in growing plants and so forth.
Ah, very good. Which plant and/or animal do you think should be renamed?
Well, I don't have much of an opinion on that, but I follow in taxonomy and in the nomenclature. They're constantly changing names, and it's funny though. And God, I'll probably bore people to death with this, but they because of genetic sequencing, they can really sort out what's what. In the old days, it would come down to somebody's subjective interpretation of what a flower looks like, or how a plant expresses itself. But now they can sequence genes and get a little more detailed. And sometimes that involves creation of new names, or it'll actually involve sort of a lumping together of new nomenclature of nomenclature into a specific genus or set of genera or species. And so myself, I think we should have a little more fun with naming things, and there are what they call honorific names, and so you could name a new bug species, or a new plant after a person, and they've done that sometimes with people in rock and roll stars or artists or whatever. So hey, I'd probably give some credence to people that I appreciate in acting or music, and I don't have that authority. So yeah, if I could, I would. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would name plants after probably very unusual people.
All right then. Very good. What fictional item do you wish you owned in real life?
Fictional item that I own in real life. I'm trying. Give me just a second to think about that. Uh, Probably something that, if it was fictional, no limits. Something that would prevent me doing stupid stuff 5 minutes before I actually acted on it without my knowing. Maybe something like that. Keep me from screwing up as much.
All right then. So like a rewind button.
Sort of a pre-wind to rewind. Yeah, it would oscillate back and forth between pre and re, because obviously it would be like Laplace's demon. It would know what's going on in the future, and if you're a determinist and so you take a what do they call it, the chain of causality, and it knows what's going on in the future. So some predicting machine like that would just, again, keep me from doing stupid stuff or opening my
Ah.
mouth when I shouldn't.
Okay.
It'd be my like my coach, it'd be like, hey dude, seriously, don't do this in 10 minutes. Really, it's not gonna end well for you. Maybe something like that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. What could you give a 14-minute presentation on without any preparation?
It would be incredibly boring, but I would give a presentation on how to hold tension between metaphysical inquiry, ontological inquiry, and sort of philosophy of mind, but yet at the same time not landing, knowing that it's speculation and not landing on anything concretely. So it would be incredibly boring for most people, just like my plant uh, fascination. It would probably bore people to tears, but that's what I could do for 40 minutes. I could blather on tangentially about philosophy of mind.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, I love that stuff, but it's not for everybody.
Fair enough. What kind of music do you often listen to?
Oh my God, you got an hour?
Yeah, I got all the time in the world.
Wonderful. So I'm all over the place. Historically, I guess I liked sort of garden variety classic rock when I was younger, but so my range of taste goes anywhere from late Baroque to early Romantic classical music to satanic death metal, black metal, to industrial noise, to soundscape compositions that are very ambient, sort of meditation-y type stuff, jazz. Um, Not so much country music, maybe old stuff from the 70s and the 60s, but yeah, I'm all over the map. Um, in fact, I just found a band today that plays. It's a quartet of women out of Austin, Texas, and oh Christ, what the hell was their name? But just discovered them today, and I've already forgotten their name. That's what happens when you get into your 50s and you grew dope when you were a kid. You forget stuff. But anyway, they were cool. I'll find out in just a second. I got the computer. I can cheat on it. But yeah, so yeah, I'm all over the map with music. Don't really have a favorite.
Oh, okay. That's fair. If you
Uh,
could create if you could create your own job title, what would it be?
oh, the group's called Die Spitz, just in case anybody wants to check them out. So, if I could create my own job title, retired, and drawing a stipend from some wonderful benefactor who has no strings attached, and it's enough for me to get by for the rest of my life, because again, I'm in my mid 50s, and wouldn't it be nice to just be lazy for the next 30 years until I pass on. But job title, as far as laboring and working, uh, maybe palm cultivator, because that goes back to my plant geek thing, I guess. Like I can make a living selling palm trees to people, or fruit trees, maybe. I don't know. I hope that's a satisfactory answer, because that's, yeah, probably the best I can come up with.
Okay, cool. What would a world populated by clones of you be like?
Oh, for Christ's sake, it'd be horrible. It'd be a nightmare. So let me ask you this question: would there be other people that would be subjected to these clones, or is it just me? Is it a population of me and that's it?
It's only you.
Holy Christ, that would be awful. Well, it would be fun for the first 10 minutes, and then we'd probably all kill each other, I think.
Good
Yeah,
grief.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's just, think about the reverberation there. I mean, you would have, how many would be cloned? I don't know. Pick a number. How many of me would be there?
Somewhere in the billions.
Oh, for the love of God. Yeah, it would be genocide, I would imagine.
Good
I mean, think
grief.
about it for yourself, Peter. Just, if there were a billion of you. Now, it depends on, the level of contact. Like, are we all isolated, or are we all sort of thrust upon each other?
Well, I just assume that society goes on as it always does, like
So
right now.
societies, cities, yeah, be kind of interesting. Hey, it might go the other way. It might be really kind of like a really bad comedy, like a surreal. Knowing my mind, it would turn out to be some Jan Svankmajer type movie, just horrifically surreal, dystopian, but nonetheless funny, I guess. I don't know, because I kind of have a sick imagination, so I would probably form societies that would exist only to sort of torment the other aspects of myself, but all in good fun. It would be an interesting kind of psychodrama. Yeah. All for
Yeah.
sport, of course. And then we'd make
Oh,
up, and then we'd get along for a period of time, and then we'd find another reason to have more bizarre psycho comedy or whatever. None of it would be malevolent. There would be so I'm joking about the genocide thing because I'm just being cynical, but no, I think it would just be very absurd.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. A billion of me would just no. Anyway,
Yes. Life goes on.
life goes on. Yes, with only one me, which is perfect. That's plenty.
Yes, perfect. Do you like spicy food?
Uh, I like spicy food, but as I get older, my body tends to want to negotiate the amount of consumption of spicy food by way of prior experience. So, yeah, when I was younger, I could eat. I used to chop up. I would chop up a couple of habaneros and throw them into an omelet. That's kind of the level that I was at. Or I would take that capsaicin infused hot sauce that was like 1,000,000 Scoville units, and I would, sort of generously apply that to things. But I couldn't do that now. In fact, you've probably heard of that ghost pepper chip challenge or whatever that they're doing. That's
Oh
just like
yeah.
kamikaze, man. That's insane. So I do like hot, but not painfully hot. Not to punish myself anymore. Those days are over.
Alright then. Fair enough. Have you ever experienced anything supernatural?
Well, I don't believe in the supernatural. I've seen some weird stuff, but I'm I just have no. For me, this is just me talking. I have no room for supernatural. So yeah, weird stuff's happened from time to time, but nothing nothing noteworthy. Nothing that would make the pages of a tabloid magazine, and like a three-headed alien or something like that. Nothing that exciting, unfortunately. I would love that to happen, though. It really would be interesting to have something like that show up, like, I don't know, some weird creature, or yeah. But unfortunately, I've not been fortunate enough to be in the space and time for that kind of thing to come up for me. So yeah, no, nothing supernatural for me.
Ah, alright then. What is the one thing you can't live without?
Other than oxygen and water, probably humor. Maybe I could probably go maybe a couple hours without being a smartass or being sarcastic, but it would start to tear me up a little bit after that. So I'd say I couldn't go without being seeking the humor in something. seeking a punchline in something that I experience.
Okay, very good. If you could travel back in time, what decade would you want to live in?
Mm. Of the 20th century, or what century are we speaking of?
Any century would do.
Well, I was a hedonist when I was younger, so maybe mm, like 1965 to 1975. I know that's not a proper decade, but so you can confine me from 65 to 70, or I wouldn't want to live before 1965, but yeah, somewhere in that period, just because of the raw hedonism that was going on in that time period.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Well, then you were probably there if you forgot about it. Or you were somewhere very adjacent to that, because there was an old cliche that if you remember the '60s, you weren't really there. I was born in the late '60s, so I lived for a total of about 3 months during the 1960s. So, but it's mythical to me because of the music that was going on, and all these different things. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. What restaurant do you eat at most?
I try to go to family owned businesses and not corporately owned restaurants. I owned a restaurant years ago, and that taught me that appreciation to not give my money out to corporate or franchised restaurants. And it's not a big thing, but I just rather that people who own their own business get my patronage. And typically, I would prefer to go to a restaurant that has what we would call ethnic food, or food that's not what I typically consume. So, I can cook a lot of stuff because I owned a restaurant. I know how to cook, so I can cook a lot of stuff for myself. So if I go out to eat, I want to eat something that I can't do. Something from maybe Vietnam or Ethiopia or somewhere that I just have no clue. And let them do it for me and do it right.
Ah, all right then. How did you spend your last birthday?
I did absolutely nothing. It was 3 days ago, and I didn't do a damn thing. It was just another day, or
Oh
whenever
yes.
whenever Monday was. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't. Birthdays don't mean a lot to me, but uh, my wife was nice to me, and she got me a Napoleon, one of those desserts, and that's the way to my heart. So I had that for dessert. That was probably the highlight of the day. Otherwise, it was a work day, and yeah, I didn't really pay much mind to it.
Oh yes, another day in the life.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all cool. What incredibly common thing have you never done?
Wow, you're stumping me here. Incredibly common thing. Hmm. Boy, that is a deep and profound question. Incredibly common thing that I've never done. Hmm. You got me, man. You stumped me on that. I can't think of something common that I haven't done. Is that a trick question?
No, that is not a trick question.
Okay. Let's see. I can't even give you a for instance that might even be not so common that I haven't done. Yeah. Let's see. So I haven't been on a jet ski. I've never bothered to uh, drive or boat or maneuver or whatever a jet ski. I don't know how common that is though, but I've never operated a jet ski, nor have I operated a motorbike for more than 100 yards. That's fairly common. So the valve's slowly starting to open on this old tired old brain of mine. But yeah, I think let's do that for two answers there. Motorbikes and jet skis. I've not had the pleasure.
Ah, of course. What should they teach in high school, but they don't?
They should teach a course in the reality of adulthood, taught by people like George Carlin or Lewis Black, some really unhinged, raving lunatic that will scare the hell out of those kids and really let it sink in what's ahead, but in a funny way.
Ah, all right then.
Yeah, I would love that class. I would be like, "Are you kidding me? This guy is my new god, Lewis Black. Are you kidding?" or rest his little soul, George Carlin. I mean, geez, I would be so thrilled to see somebody like that telling me how horrible life is going to be when I'm 10 years older, or how cynical I will be in 10 years, or whatever. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that would
Oh,
probably. I think. What do you think? I mean, do you think that would be a good course?
yeah, that'd be pretty good. That'd be
Yeah,
good to know.
Yes, I mean, because the whole point of school is to prepare you for adulthood, but then they don't give you that really dose of just dry, acerbic cynicism. Just to say, oh my God, you do not want to reach 26 or 30 or whatever. It's just going to be anyway.
Yes, of course. Would you rather never age physically or never age mentally?
I would take never age mentally and allow my body to die in proper time, because I would not want to be physically immortal and then be a sort of more of a mental vegetable than I already am. It's kind of a Moloch's deal either way, but I think I would take the ageless mind and a limited body. Let me die when I'm in my 80s.
Sweet.
Yeah, if I'm that lucky to live to my 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to have some sharp mental acuity at 80, or 85 or whatever, instead of a doddering old fool.
Uh-huh.
So anyway,
What is your favorite life hack?
uh, I've got, so having been a cook, when you open those little cans of tomato paste that are smaller than any other can ever made for food containment, that when you take the can opener and you get the lid open, a lot of people will grab a little spatula and try to scoop the very thick tomato paste out. Just flip the can over and cut the other side open and then push that little metal piece through. That's the only meaningful thing I think I could dispense in terms of wisdom to humanity at this point. I could talk about other things, but that's very practical. Is if you're going to use tomato paste, just flip the can over, and if it's one of those obnoxiously small cans, just open it on the bottom and then push through. Yeah,
All right, very good.
yeah. I hope that changes lives. I really do.
It sure will.
Yay.
What's the longest trip you've been on?
Can you contextualize that for me? I mentioned I grew dope earlier, so what kind of trip are we talking about here? Like a
Uh,
road trip kind of thing, flying in planes or?
Commute a
Uh,
point A to point B.
okay, thank you. Yes, so that trip, kind of trip, was from Orlando, Florida to Dubai, UAE. Uh, I don't know how many miles it was, but it was about a 16-hour flight, so probably about 7 or 8 thousand miles, somewhere in there.
Okay then. I like Dubai, but I prefer other places more traditional like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've never really been anywhere super exotic. In the Western Hemisphere, I've been to places in Central America and South America, and Europe, Western Europe. But yeah, Dubai was probably the furthest jaunt that I've undertaken.
All right then. What's your favorite holiday tradition?
Mm, I'd say I'm somewhat of a contrarian, so I don't really celebrate holidays. As I mentioned, my birthday came and went without me doing anything about it, or acknowledging it in any meaningful way. And so that applies to most holidays, except for in spirit. I love days like Guy Fawkes Day, Bastille Day. Um, and in those days, I sort of reflect upon humanity's desire to cause a little trouble once in a while and disrupt the system. So that's probably the best I'm going to do. I don't. So I eat food in America. We have Thanksgiving, so I eat a big meal that day, because I usually go hang out with my wife's family, and they cook a lot of stuff, and so that's probably the most traditional thing I do, and I enjoy it because who doesn't like to eat a good meal? But for myself, very selfishly speaking, it's things like Guy Fawkes and Bastille Day where I celebrate, upheaval and things like
All right then. Have you ever thought of a world that is just a big, massive garden?
that. Well, would you intuit that I may have done that, given all the plant geek stuff that we started with in the beginning? Yeah, I'd say uh, I wouldn't want it to all be, well, garden. So it's like a cultivated garden kind of planet. I'd rather it be a kind of wilder planet with just plants doing their own thing, because tending that kind of planetary garden might be tedious unless there are forces that go ahead and curate and cultivate that. Then I guess that would be good. But yeah, I'd say um, I'd prefer a sort of natural kind of wilderness type scenario. But anyway, yeah. Is that a good answer? Is that kind of getting what you were asking?
Very
Or
good.
just yeah. Okay, there you go.
It's good enough.
Exactly right.
Yeah. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
Probably go back to the philosophy of mind matter there and talk about revealing kind of scale invariance with intelligence. Is it intelligence all the way down? Would be the answer I would be interested in hearing. If there were some all-knowing, again, some kind of Laplace's demon that could verify that, I would say, well, is it instead of marbles all the way down or turtles all the way down, is it a scale invariant intelligence in some means that we wouldn't even have access to, but nonetheless, just that assurance that that might be what it is. So yeah, that would probably be the question I'd want to the mystery or whatever.
Nice, nice. If someone wrote a book about you, what do you think its title would be?
What not to do. 6 easy steps. uh, it's not to say I haven't had my good moments, but yeah, I could teach or a biographer could extract a lot of things from my history that are cautionary tales.
Interesting.
Yeah, and not that it's not bad. It's just like any of us, if we could rewind and do certain things a little differently or with a little more prudence, then that would be that. So it's not dramatic. It's just refinement,
Yeah, absolutely.
retroactive refinement. Yeah, that or maybe that's the title of the book, Retroactive Refinement 101 with your buddy Justin.
All right then. Very
Yeah,
good.
there we go. We modified that answer.
If you were chosen to colonize a new habitable planet, would you take the opportunity?
I would be tempted, but I don't know if I'm the person for the job because I would need to know if it's all my doing. Would I be trying to construct a utopia or would I be trying to just recreate the mixture of uh, what's going on here? By mixture, I mean sort of the aggregation of different types of personalities and perhaps pathologies as well as normatives as far as normal people doing normal things, and would I onboard the pathologies into this new colonized system, or would I again be a utopia chaser who tries to make sure everybody's happy and blah 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 blah? That'd be a lot. That's a big responsibility, especially if you're generating a new ecology of mind or whatever, or civilization or whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. I'd say no. Somebody else can do
All right then. What was the stupidest joke you've ever heard?
that. In a pantheon of stupid jokes, boy, you stumped me again on that one because it would take me probably more time than your audience has patience for to try to retrieve a particular joke. I mean, I know some dumb jokes, but probably sort of the classic kids jokes. But yeah, I don't know any of them right now. Sorry to be disappointing on that answer because like I do like humor, but the joke is something I'd have to sit and think about to give you a good quality crappy joke.
Well,
Probably more
that's
time
just,
than you have.
it's pretty ironic, really. Thinking hard to come up with a
A dumb joke. But see, I
yes.
want to deliver quality to your audience, quality
Uh,
crap, or quality badness. So I wouldn't want to
yeah.
disappoint. I'd rather disappoint through like this negative process of just not delivering, just leaving it a vacuum.
Ah, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I'll give you that. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you on, Justin, talking about agriculture, uh, the 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 keeping it chill kind of thing, and everything else. It's been great.
Well, Peter, thank you. It was very unconventional on my end. I love it because it's I like that. I like what you did, and I'm hopefully if the intent was a little bit of levity, then I hope that that's something that was delivered to your audience.
Yes, it sure was. It's totally worth it.
Awesome. Glad I could be a
Uh,
part of it.
Yep. And until next time, stay tuned for more.